Hey team, Alisha Conlin-Hurd here, co-founder of Persuasion Experience and the PX funnel system that has been developed from doing over 450 different landing pages and funnels across over 120 different niches. And today I'm going to be giving you 3 proven strategies that you can use in your SaaS business to start increasing users, to start lowering your CAC, to build pipeline and increase your MRR. And these have worked on big billion-dollar brands like Linktree, and they've also worked on much smaller, newer SaaS companies like Navexa. So keep watching and you're going to find out how you can start using them for your business today. Hey team, let's get into it. 3 proven SaaS marketing strategies you can start implementing today. So in this video, I'm going to be walking you through 3 core strategies that we find with our SaaS clients work very, very well. So the first one that we're going to dive into today is psychology being greater than technology and what you really need to do to acquire more users and boost your retention. And then we're going to talk about how you can build a competitive force field that is really this moat, this big thing around your software that protects you so your competitors cannot copy you, and something that we like to call SaaS farming. So you stop cherry picking expensive leads and users, and how you can actually grow and nurture your own users. So just to reiterate, this is based on doing over 450 different funnels and landing pages across a lot of different niches, and has generated hundreds and hundreds, thousands of leads and users and sales for our clients. And this has worked across lots of different niches. So this has worked for SaaS clients of ours like Linktree. So it works with billion-dollar brands where we were able to increase their conversion rate up 38% and decrease their CPA by 27%. So this works for really established brands, but it also works for newer brands like Navexa, which is a portfolio tracking tool where we were able to half their CAC and double their user base with these strategies. So I just want to show you they definitely work, and we're going to get into them now. So the first one that I love, and this is why I love working in SaaS, but is the concept that psychology is greater than the technology. What I would ask to you right now is, while you're watching this video, are you here for me or are you here for you? And the answer is you're here for you. You want to learn something. You don't so much care about me. You want to find out how I can help you. And that's exactly what happens when somebody lands on some of your marketing collateral at the top of the funnel. So what people often have, and especially SaaS founders with an engineering background, is that they have this curse of knowledge. They're so smart and they know so much about why their product is so great and they want to tell people all of this stuff, but there's a disconnect because the people that you're talking to in your marketing, they are trying to solve a specific problem and you're trying to tell them something that is not entering the conversation that they're having in their mind. So there's a bit of a disconnect. So the thing is, you love your product and you're obsessed with all of the features, and that's awesome, but no one cares. And I say that a bit tongue in cheek because people really just care about what's in it for me. Yeah. When anyone's ever reading something, watching something, looking at any of your marketing, they're scanning it with this WIFM. What's in it for me? So what? Why should I care? So really, businesses just exist to solve problems. Yeah. And if you can start to think about that, what problem do you solve? What are you really selling? Your software is just a vehicle into a desired end state. So what do you really sell to help people to solve that burning problem? And the bigger the problem, the more you get paid. So think of it this way, you actually sell a transformation. The software is just a vehicle, and people can go to your competitors direct, but there's indirect ways to get the transformation and to solve the problem. And so you need to realize, what do you really sell and how can you articulate that you're going to help people to get there? So you really sell a future state. You're selling something that's going to happen after using your software. So they really use your product to solve a problem, and you need to figure out what that is in their words, not your words, not my words, not some random person's words, the target market's words, and how they articulate the problem that they are actually having. And okay, how can you do this? Let's start to go through that. And the best way is to talk to them. And a lot of people just don't want to talk to them. But if you can't name 30 to 100 of your customers, your users, and have spoken to them and understand their problems, their hopes, their dreams, their fears, then how are you going to create a product that's genuinely going to help people? So one way to do that is surveys, and that helps you to understand your customer on a much deeper level, understand the language they use, and then you can leverage it in your marketing. You can find out how you're really perceived with your customers, and some really good questions could just be, how would you describe, like how would you explain this software X, to a mate, to a friend? And you start to build this profile up of how they talk about their problems and your solution in their own words. Additionally to that, you can just go to where they are having these conversations. Quora, Amazon Books, Reddit, whatever it is. Go and read your own reviews. Go and read your competitor reviews and start to condense that down into common themes and categories that you're seeing, and keep little, just keep it all in a spreadsheet. Keep little quote marks of what people are saying. Then just get them on the phone, or use something like Vouch, which helps to get video recordings of feedback from people as well. And this will help you to start to build a really, really rich customer persona and profile, where you can actually just start to figure out what to put in your marketing. It makes it a lot easier. The next thing you can do is create feedback loops with your client-facing team. So every month you have your customer support, your sales team, whoever it is, reporting back. What are the things that you saw? Talk to them every single month, if not more, and find out what is actually happening in the trenches and what people are asking for. So you can easily create these feedback loops. And these don't have to be fancy things, but you just need to get really, really clear on what does the target market actually want. So what are some of the things that you should end up figuring out? The dream outcome. So that's the number one thing. What is their desired dream outcome, the transformation, distilling that down into a single sentence, the before and after state. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? Because then you can position your software as a vehicle to get them there. What are their 3 to 5 big motivations and outcomes? You write those down, and then you start to match up how your software gets them there. And if there's a gap, we'll get into that soon, because then you can start to layer in things to help them get there, to build that competitive force field. What have they tried before? Often people are really obsessed with their competitors, and they're like, oh, I've got all these competitors. But really, you're probably being compared to 2 things. And your biggest competitor is probably inertia, and just them not taking action and keep on doing the paper way or the old school way that they do things. Understanding their number one burning question, that's going to help for you to create content. And we're going to talk about it in a little bit. What education is needed? What are the gaps? What are the paradigm shifts that they need to have? Their pain points, their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their false beliefs and objections. And you put all of this into a document that should be ever evolving about your target market, because then you can start to understand, what are you really selling? It's not your software, it's the transformation that you provide. So for example, we work with a client called Dabble. You can see here the ultimate cloud-based fiction writing software. But when we surveyed their audience and started to get feedback, and their audience, I think I've watched too many talk shows, when we surveyed their users and their customers, we start to find out, what do they actually want? What are we really selling? And what came out of that were people like, I want to finally finish my book. I've started writing it, or I've never started. I have this idea and I just have no idea how to bring it to life. And then I want to get published. That's my dream. I want to become a published author. So that kind of shifts that we're no longer a cloud-based fiction writing software, because that's just the vehicle to the end desired state to finally finish your book and learn how to get published. So you can see here, we've gone from being the number one fiction writing tool to where thousands of aspiring fiction writers come to finally finish their first novel and get published. So we be specific about how we can help them, and we get really visceral. Yeah, we get emotive. We show them what their life can be like after using what we provide. And we don't talk about the product incessantly. We talk about what it does for them, what it's going to do for them. And then that, at its most simplest form, that's features and benefits. We do this so you can achieve this. We have this so you can achieve this, and really marrying those two up. Otherwise, you're just describing a thing. You're just like, hey, I have a drink bottle. It's metal. It holds water. Instead of telling them what the thing does, we've designed this drink bottle to be 1 liter so you can easily get your amount of water to be hydrated in a day, feature, benefit. Really, marketing is just inputs and outputs. That's it. It's just what do you put in and what comes out the other end. And it all starts in this research and understanding your target market, because it's just garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't understand them, you're rushing through it, you're just putting out to market what you think in terms of your marketing is going to resonate in what you think, which is very dangerous words. I think, no, have this target market avatar, understand what they want in their words, and then it just makes your life so much easier. So your target market avatar is really your first output. And it sounds very basic, and I feel like I'm in one of my first lectures for my marketing degree, which was somewhat useless. But so many people skip over this, and then they're trying to build these complex marketing machines, but this output is missing and it just doesn't work and they can't figure out why. And it's like, if you try and build a house on sand and you don't put down a solid foundation somewhere, it's just going to keep sinking and you're going to keep band-aiding it and trying to figure it out. And so there's all these little leaks that happen, and these little leaks, they sink big ships. So if you don't have this sorted out, then you're just never going to be able to do any of the fancy cool stuff on the other side. If you get this wrong, all of your marketing, your message, your offer, your positioning, it's all off. And if you don't understand why someone uses your product and don't have a clear picture of your target market, your marketing will fail. There's no ifs or buts about it. And so what performs best? A crappy product with awesome marketing, or the best product in the world with crappy marketing? Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the one that has the best marketing but might be a crappy product. And the caveat to that is maybe not for long, not forever. But if someone has better marketing, it doesn't matter how good the product is, because if you know you have the best product or the best service, but you're not telling people that, then they'll never know. So your marketing will just ultimately fail. Okay. So this was the strategy for psychology being greater than technology. So stop focusing on the product and go and focus on the customer and create that really in-depth customer avatar with some of the tools that we have spoken about. And then whenever you're doing anything in your marketing, you can think, what would target market want? What would they want? Instead of I think, or let's do this, it's like, let's go back, let's look at what they've actually said, and let's figure out how we can best serve them and solve their problems. Number 2, building a competitive force field around your product or your software. So here's the thing, your technology can be ripped off. Yeah, it's not really that special. And I know that hurts to hear, but it can be ripped off. We see it all the time. Just go and watch Silicon Valley and it can be ripped off. And so this is where you need to build this competitive force field around what you do. So the number one way to do this, or one of the first ways you can do this, is something called the radical differentiation strategy. And so you'll see up on the screen now, this MarTech landscape. That's a lot of noise. Who am I meant to go with? And if you don't stand out from this noise, which does, unfortunately, probably for some people start in the marketing, doesn't matter how good the product is, it starts in the marketing, you're never going to stand out from here because there's a lot of noise out there. And it's not just your competitors. You're just competing against everything, all of the noise. You're trying to get somebody to stop what they're doing, to stop their inertia, to stop the movement that they're taking, stop and pay attention to you and do what you want them to do. That's actually a really hard thing to get somebody to do. And there's a huge war for attention that is not just your competitors, but their kids are crying. There's a new Married at First Sight episode. There's funny cat videos on the internet. They've got bills to pay. They've just heard something going on outside. They've got a text message. It's a war for attention that isn't just you versus your competitors. You're trying to get somebody in their home or out and about on their mobile to take an action that you want them to take. So you need to persuade them that that is going to be the right thing for them to do. So what you need to think is, will you get lost in this noise or will you stand out from it? And that's where this concept of radical differentiation comes in, because people notice and they remember what stands out. And this happens in a lot of industries, and it's especially, I would say, prevalent in SaaS, where they just want to copy their competitors and they want it all to look the same, and they go and look at this or this and it might not be an exact competitor and it all just starts to look the same, where it's actually comical, where it's like the same headline, the same thing above the fold, the same call to action, the same things on the page. And how is somebody meant to differentiate that from your competitors? So one of the great things that Peep says is that you would perform much better if you didn't sound like everyone else. Yeah, you will stand out. And you have to get clear on what only you can do. And there's a good way to do that. We can go, we are the only category that provides value for market. So go away and think about that and how you can articulate that on your landing page. That could actually just be what ends up being your headline on your page to make it really crystal clear. So that's the radical differentiation. The next part of the force field is being clear about who your brand is. What we have is, we know who the target market is by now, if you've done those other activities, but now it's like, okay, we know who we're talking to, but who are we talking as? And we need to get really clear on how we communicate. A great company that does this, that everybody fanboys almost, you either love them or hate them, that's the polarizing, but is Apple. And from one of their ad campaigns where they had a really young, hip guy versus like a bit of a stodgy older guy who was meant to be Microsoft. And they get really clear on their voice and who they are. They know their target market, but they know who their brand is. And marketing should feel one-to-one. It should feel like one person talking to another person, not some faceless company talking to lots of people. And if you know who you are talking to, and you know who you are talking as, then that is going to be a much stronger communication when you want it to feel one-to-one. Okay, so why should you care about all of this? Because I know you've got a million things going on in your day and you're thinking, oh God, just another thing to do. But knowing your brand will allow you to create a very clear picture in your customer's mind. Differentiate your brand and messaging from your competitors, because people do business with who they know, who they like, and who they trust. And ultimately, if we're not clear on who we are, the brand, how could the target market will never be clear if we are not crystal clear on that. So you can do things like little quizzes on your brand personality. Don't overcomplicate it. Get clear on the words you do and you don't use. Get clear on the stories you tell, the key messages you have. And the same as you do a target market avatar, you can create your brand avatar. And that's going to give you clarity and congruence across your marketing efforts. FYI, I'm not some great brand marketer, but I know great marketing is one-to-one. And this is the best way that we do it with our clients. So you need to have congruence throughout your marketing and a really strong brand voice. So you can just create this brand persona. We did this with Navexa. So that was the portfolio tracking app I showed you earlier in the video. And we just did it in a Google Doc. We didn't do anything fancy. We just said, if Navexa were a person, we got a picture. And then this is just a little snapshot of what we did. He'd be a young guy in his mid-30s that seems to have everything together because he does. He'd been investing since blah. He's that smart friend that people go to for advice, blah, blah, blah. And we started to say, okay, these are the words we use. These are the words we don't use. These are the key stories we have. And that just keeps everything really congruent and really clear in our messaging. And it keeps the company on the same page every single time we go out there. It keeps it very, very congruent. So what you can also do with this is tap into Cialdini's new persuasion principle, which is unity. And this is the shared identity that the influencer shares with the influencee. So according to Cialdini, the unity principle moves beyond that surface level similarities. So it's like we can still be influenced, but under the liking principle, instead, he says, it's about having a shared identity. Okay, in summary, have a brand personality and don't be boring. These are the keys. Be polarizing, stand for something, know who the brand is, and be able to have that one-to-one communication with your target market. And the next one is this concept of tunnel vision versus funnel vision. So tunnel vision is what I alluded to a little bit earlier, where companies are just constantly focusing on what their competitors are doing or what's happening in the industry. And they get this tunnel vision. They've got the blinders on and they're just focusing on these things and they're just trying to stay a little bit ahead of other people all the time. And what you can do instead is get funnel vision. You can look out to all of these other industries and see what are the great things that people are doing. You need to become a student of marketing and see what's happening out there in the world. And ultimately, sometimes you just need to try and stop thinking like a SaaS brand or stop thinking like a software brand, because that's where this sameness, it's boring and everyone's getting lost in this noise. How can you do something to stand out? And if you're thinking like everybody else, you cannot stand out. So stop being obsessed with your competition. And once you know that transformation, you can better serve your users. For example, with Dabble again, they're the software, but we wanted to start building something around the software. So we have the 14-day trial, the private writers mastermind, a free course, a free book, and premium support. Anyway, why do we have these things? Because we know that one of the goals is that they want to find out how to finally finish. So we create them a course where they can use in conjunction with the product step by step to write their first book. And then we've got a book that's going to help them, because these people like to read, they write books, they like to read. That's what our research shows, how to actually get published. So we have all these additional resources that are going to actually help them to get to their end destination, the transformation that they want. Because once you know the transformation, you can build a community and a membership around it if you want, or you can just build other offerings, like stronger offerings around the software, instead of just offering the software, because you sell the transformation. What are you really selling? It's that transformation. And the software is just one component of helping people to get there. What you have then is you have this irresistible offer, which helps with your acquisition. And you've also built something that's going to get people to be sticky. Yeah, it's gonna stay sticky, because it's gonna help in that activation phase, because you're providing all of this additional value. Like, you're creating assets once, and the halftime of these assets are for a long, long time until you ever have to update them again, which then increases the lifetime value. And also what you can do is look outside of the software to see what's the next logical step. What else can you sell people to boost revenue in here? And some of this is, not everybody's up to this. Like, a lot of people just need to get this predictable, scalable acquisition machine, but you need to be thinking about the other steps of your funnel, because most people make the mistake and think that their funnel ends at acquisition, and it doesn't. You need to be thinking ahead how you're going to get them to stay. And love him or hate him, but the Papa OG of funnels, Mr. Russell Brunson, does this very much around his ClickFunnels software as well. And that's someone, you know, when we say getting funnel vision and becoming a student of markets, you don't have to copy him, but go and think about what was the thought process. Don't just look at what people do. Go and try and figure out how they thought about getting there, because understanding that is much better than seeing the end output. And then here's this beautiful thing that I made on Canva, and maybe our editor will create something better. But you have this radical differentiation, your funnel vision, you can have a membership in a community, and your brand persona. And then it's all of this that's encompassing your product. So it kind of protects your product from competitors trying to come in and rip it off, copy it, and it doesn't matter, because you've created all of these other things that bolster up the software and make it much, much more powerful and much more useful to your end consumer. Okay, and finally, we have this idea of SaaS farming that we talk about in-house here at PX. And so what happens is most people want to cherry pick users, but this means you're going after the most expensive leads, because they're all the way down the other end of the awareness journey, and it's the most competitive. So if you focus on picking that low-lying fruit and you don't go out and plant any new trees to harvest in the future, well, then you're just going to run out of people that you can go after. You actually get capped on what you can scale, because you're only going after that tippy top of people that are actually looking to solve that problem. But if you just went back a little bit and you went back a few stages of the awareness journey and you started to help people to solve their problems earlier on, you start to cast a much wider net. Instead of just saying, hey, we know you're looking for exactly this solution because you've already done all the research, here you are, come and sign up to this. You start going, okay, what are the different questions or conversations that were happening until that led up to this moment? Because that buyer's journey is happening whether you want to get involved or not. And so what you need to be doing is making sure that you are becoming a trusted advisor, providing value, so that when they do get to that end phase, then they're ready to come to you. And this is where this idea of farming comes in, because you're nurturing them and providing them value. I don't know if you want to liken it to fertilizer, I'm not sure, but you're providing them value. So when they are ready, when they're a big strong tree and they're ready to come and work with you, or they're ready to solve that problem, they're looking for competitors, they naturally trust you because you provided all of this nurturing and all of this value leading up to that. And a lot of people are very first order thinking, they're very first order thinking in their results. They're under a lot of pressure. And so they're after immediate quick wins. And then they keep taking all of this stuff and they wonder why they can't scale, because they haven't gone for the long game in their marketing. And you have to have both. So get like that most aware done, but then you need to start testing things, testing new channels, testing new ways to get in front of your customers, and trying to broaden that net of people that you can talk to. So there's 3 ways that you can do this. There's more, but I'm going to talk about 3 ways. You can do lead magnets, you can do content, and you can do collaboration. So with lead magnets, for example, this doesn't have to equal an ebook. This is just what is their number one burning problem and how can you solve it? So go Google Eugene Schwartz's 5 levels of awareness and then start mapping out the customer journey and the questions that they're going to have and what channels that they might be on. And then start thinking, okay, can we splinter off anything from the product, or what can we create to actually get download and bring them into our ecosystem and get them a quick win, show value. For example, I work with some complex B2B solutions, and one of those is working with plumbers, and they aren't looking for the software, but they are trying to figure out how to get better at invoicing. So we will create lead magnets and content around those questions they're asking. Because if we just talk about us and that solution, that's not the conversation they're having in their brain. They're not up to that yet. So that's lead magnets. Next is your content. So I'm not a content marketer necessarily, but creating this, ranking for this, and having it out there for those longer tail problems that people are trying to solve is a big thing. And thirdly, it's all around strategic partnerships. Who has your customers already, who's not necessarily a direct competitor, but has them engaged and likes and trusts them? So how can you start creating those strategic partnerships where you can get in front of your customers and you can get those warm referrals in? So one example of a lead magnet, and obviously HubSpot is a big old company, but they do really well, is like their target market persona. They sell a CRM, and if they only did their marketing about CRM, they would miss out on a lot of people who they've obviously mapped out what is their customer journey. And one of those is they need to create this target market avatar. So they have this, when you click download and export, then you need to put in your details. Then they have you in their little web and they can keep nurturing you until you are ready to get a new CRM. But now they've helped me. This is actually a really cool tool. Now they've helped me and they've given me that value. So another example of content is UserPilot. They do awesome blogs, articles, whatever they call it. And they are extremely helpful, extremely well thought out. And I haven't read one that I didn't like yet. And I'm not ready to use UserPilot, but whenever I need to do whatever UserPilot does, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm coming back here and doing it, because I trust them so much and they are an expert and an authority in what they do. Okay, team, that is it. I hope you enjoyed today, and I want to know in the next video, what do you want to see? Do you want me to go deeper on any of the topics that I have gone over today? What sort of problems are you having? Let me know. I'll create a video to solve them for you. And if you've got any questions on funnels or converting traffic, just leave your questions in the comments below. And remember, team, knowledge is useless if you aren't actioning it. So put in the comments what you're going to implement from this video. Come back, show me. I'll give you my feedback over the next 7 to 14 days. And I'm really excited to learn more. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and all the other things that the kids ask you to do at the end of a video. Thank you so much for watching. Chat to you soon.